Level 3, Sorites. So, finally, we are at stage 3 of our assessments in categorical logic. Recall that a Sorites is a chain of interlocking mediate inferences leading to one conclusion in the end. There is an example there at the bottom, and we will in fact assess this example now. Step 1, of course, always is placing the argument into standard form. This means multiple things in this context. Let's begin with these simple steps. Make sure all statements are standard form categorical statements. Make sure each term occurs twice. Make sure the predicate term of the conclusion appears in the first premise. And make sure every statement up to the conclusion has a term in common with the statement immediately following it. Well, this is a lot easier done with an example. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at the first thing. All statements are standard form categorical statements. Well, if we're looking at our example, we need to do a quick little fix here like that. I hope you can see that these are now standard form categorical statements. Okay. 2. Each term occurs twice. Make sure that each term occurs twice. A quick visual inspection here shows us that yes, in fact, every category occurs twice. Okay, moving on. Make sure the predicate term of the conclusion appears in the first premise. All right, the predicate term of the conclusion is persons who are strong. And as it is currently, it is not featured in the first premise, so one quick fix will do that for us. There you go. Make sure you see what I just did. Good. And of course, make sure every statement up to the conclusion has a term in common with the statement immediately following it. So, as it stands right now, this is not the case, but with a quick little swap between premise 2 and 3, we're good. Premise 1 and 2 have a category in common, namely persons who are brave, and premise 2 and 3 have a category in common, namely warriors, and 3 and 4 have their own category in common, Spartans. Okay, let's look at the steps here. And I will lay these out here for you now, and you can pause and read them. But essentially what I want to do is show you these steps in action. So the idea here, what you have to do is you take your argument, and you actually have to reorganize it so that you're going to be adding premises here. So what I've done here is I've taken the first two premises. There is the original argument on the right, and here are the first two premises on the left. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extract an intermediate conclusion. If I know that all persons who are brave are persons who are strong, and I know that all warriors are persons who are brave, that means that I also know that all warriors are persons who are strong. Take a moment to make sure you understand that transition. Okay, now that conclusion, 3 on the left, that intermediate conclusion, I will now insert that into the original argument. Okay, now from 3, starting from 3, I'll also pair it with premise 4 now, what became premise 4, and we'll see if we can derive the conclusion. All warriors are persons who are strong. That's the intermediate conclusion from the previous pair of premises. This is formerly premise 3, now it's premise 4, all Spartans are warriors. And from that, if you can tell, we can derive all Spartans are persons who are strong, which happens to be our conclusion for the main argument. That means we can walk our way down the chain and show that the conclusion does in fact follow. That is the official way of assessing Sorites for validity, and here is the rule. If each individual syllogism is valid, the Sorites is valid. If even one syllogism in the chain is invalid, the Sorites is invalid. So what's going on here is if you check each individual syllogism all the way down and you make it to the conclusion, you've got yourself a valid argument. Now, This isn't the only way to check for Sorites, but because we won't be dealing with this too much in this class, I'm just giving you this official way of doing things. It features some very typical Aristotelian concepts like organizing things very rigorously. In fact, this is what Aristotle is mostly known for. This is one of his great contributions to the history of science. His work, for example, in botany and in zoology are what kind of set the whole categorization of the natural world in motion. We have him to thank for that. So this is one reason why I want to teach Sorites in this particular lesson, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want to add one more thing though. There is another way of just kind of checking your work with this argument. And I went ahead and did this for you here. You can make a little informal Venn diagram. And this, in effect, if you've already organized your argument, if you put it into standard form accurately, then it's actually already represented in this way. So this argument is all brave persons are strong persons, all warriors are brave, and all Spartans are warriors. It's just really from the outside working its way in. And as you can tell, the conclusion, all Spartans I believe are strong. You can tell clearly the Spartan category, the circle representing the Spartan category, is within the circle representing the strong category. So that's how you can do an informal Venn diagram to kind of just check your work on Sorites. That way you don't have to really wing it on your homework or on the test. Okay, in any case, as you can tell, both from the official way of assessing Sorites for validity, as well as this little informal Venn diagram, either way, this argument, my friends, is valid. Awesome.